We have access to some jobs which are not posted on LinkedIn or job portals. There are confidential jobs, exclusive roles as well.
If let's say a company comes to you and say, I want to hire someone of a certain gender, certain race,
what do you
do?
Company?
And they are your client, right?
Yes.
So how?
Don't just let the recruiters interview you. Interview back the recruiters. Have you placed someone that's like me? How well do you know about this company? How long have you been working with this company?
Welcome to the Work It Podcast. My name is Nat, and as always, with me is my co-host Gerald. Gerald, have you ever gotten a job through a recruiter?
Personally, no.
Okay.
But I have heard of many people who have. They have worked with recruiters. They found jobs through recruiters. Some even have scary stories about recruiters.
Okay. Well, same here. I've never really, interacted with a recruiter aside from the ones who have come on the Work It Podcast. So very good for us. Today we will be discussing recruiters.
Wow.
We'll be talking about how they work, what makes a good recruiter, and how to build relationships that actually improve your chances of getting hired.
All right. Okay.
So joining us on the couch is Gavin Teo, a director at global recruitment firm Michael Page.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
And we also have Joshua Wu, founder of a Singapore recruitment firm, Recruit Fast.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
So what's the difference between applying directly on a LinkedIn job posting versus asking a recruiter to help me find a job?
We have access to some jobs which are not posted on LinkedIn or job portals. Sometimes it's for talent pipelining for our clients. Sometimes there are confidential jobs, exclusive roles as well. So besides applying yourselves on websites, I think it's good to work with some recruiters to get access to some jobs you may not be able to apply yourself.
Like what kind of jobs are typically not put on job portals? What do they typically only send to recruiters to go and find the person to fill in?
So some of the clients out there, they want to make their company confidential and not to let the competitors know that they are also hiring. Some are replacement role and it's quite a critical role as well. And they may not want to let the public to know. Yeah, some are listed company as well. So they work with recruiters, right, confidentially and also exclusively.
And also we will help in the process of the negotiation for the package, the offer, preparation for onboarding. So we are there as a middle person to help.
Right.
So just before you start with the firm, we are there to gel the relationships. So if there's any ugly questions or awkward questions, you can go through us. We'll represent the candidates to speak to the HR or to the hiring manager.
And is this a service that I have to pay for as a candidate?
No, it's not from the candidates. So only the clients pay the recruitment fees.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But does that mean that if the client is, or my potential employer is going to be paying, are they taking something out of my eventual paycheck?
Usually they will have a recruitment budget,
Right.
which is separate from the salaries of the candidates. So this budget is part of their HR costs every year. So they will allocate this to find candidates through recruitment firms like myself. And usually that does not impact the salary of the candidates. In fact, when we get a mandate, we'll get a budget range for the roles. So we'll try to work within. And if there's a good candidate that's over the budget, then we'll definitely try to maybe meet somewhere in the middle. There'll be a bit of stretch of the budget. But I think it's also a mutually interested conclusion and wrapping up of the whole process, both from the candidates and the hiring manager point of view. Yeah.
Gavin, you mentioned earlier that part of a role that recruiters play is to also help the candidates answer some potentially ugly questions that are coming from companies. What are some examples of these questions that companies may ask that I, as a candidate, may find difficult to answer?
Typically, they will ask, are they okay with putting in extra time for the work? Are they okay to maybe sometimes OT? Are they okay to work from office 5 days a week instead of hybrid model? Are they okay with different aspects of the role that I wouldn't consider it ugly, but sometimes it's awkward. But more from the candidate's perspective, right? Because sometimes the candidates wants to ask for maybe more salary, more benefits, asking about, say, increasing their role title and responsibilities as well. So along the way, then we'll be able to pose these questions to the HR or the hiring manager without the candidates coming to play. And of course, we'll try to soften the impact so as not to jeopardize the candidate's chances of getting the role.
Yeah, I've heard personally of one where there's a SME, a local Tauke boss. He was really particular about the zodiac sign of the
Yes, that's
person that
true.
they're hiring. Yes. So then he
Yes.
asked the recruiter to sound out what the zodiac sign is because he believes in feng shui, and then after that so there's a lot of these beliefs that it's non-competency related, right? But then he just had that preference, and then the recruiter had to kind of suss out. So if let's say a company comes to you and say, I want to hire someone of a certain gender, certain race,
Yeah, what do you
what
tell
do you
the
do?
company?
And they are your client, right?
Yes.
So how?
So basically, I will ask reason for that particular hiring needs. Maybe you need someone that is physically fit,
Mm-hmm.
but we cannot put that. Why? I will ask the client because need to carry 20 to 25 kg or pushing some trolleys that is very heavy. Then we understand. We need to explore and expand the question and why do they want to hire such person. And if it's more to personal, then we will tend to educate the client as well.
I previously operated with the assumption that I'm paying for the recruiter services. But does that mean then that recruiters are not really operating in the best interest of the candidate? Because we're not paying you, right?
Okay.
So I guess like how do you reconcile that?
Okay. So we need to build a trust, with the candidates. Otherwise, we do not have any candidates to represent future clients. And this is very important to me, the 3 C's, right? The candidate, the clients, and the colleagues. One day, the clients can be your candidates as well, right? And the candidates can be your client as well. We want the best interest for the candidate because you're not just giving a job, you are giving a career, put food on the table, and let's go a long way.
Okay. So while I haven't really, worked with recruiters before, a few friends who have told me that they're always worried about recruiters pushing them into job interviews or pushing them for roles that they don't really fit. I'm just wondering why that happens.
I would say the experienced recruiters don't do that.
Okay.
Less so experienced, sometimes they do want to hit their KPIs.
So their KPI being number of placements they fulfill. Okay. Is that the same in your experience, Gavin?
We also would like the candidates to stay long term in the role. So if at the first stage, when they are not so keen on the roles, I think it's pointless to push them through the interviews. And even if they get a job, they may not accept the offer. And even if they start, they may not last long in the role as well. So I think it's like a fruitless waste of time for everybody.
But I've heard this thing about how recruiters also, because with your clients, employers, they do expect resumes and CVs, right? Then you have to give them like some, not just one. Do you have to give them like somewhat suitable and then some that are not so suitable ones? Because this is what I've heard from people.
Yeah.
They feel like they don't know where they stand. Are they the only candidate, or are they like just what we call like the joker within the pile of resumes that's given?
Yeah, I've heard about this actually because a family friend of mine, she was in headhunting, like Gavin, and she said that her firm at the time, there were some people who had what she calls fluffer candidates. Because those candidates are not serious offers to the clients. Those candidates are just there to make the next candidate that the firm offers to the client look better.
More okay.
Yeah. So is that common practice?
So personally, I don't do that because my job is to present my best slate of profiles to the clients, right? If you have, we call it filler profiles, then it kind of undermines my capability to fill the job with the best candidates possible. So in this case, I would just advise the client to say, these are the top 5 profiles at the moment in the market who's open to looking out within your budget, fits your requirements. And if you're open to stretch the budget, open up your options, I can have more profiles for you, rather than sending through like filler profiles where they don't fit in with the job description or with the budget or with the type of profiles they want to hire. And I think it's more time effective as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, Joshua, I see you were smiling a little bit when this was brought up. Is this something that you see happening in the industry?
I agree with Gavin. It's like quality rather than quantity. Because these are the people that you represent, right? And the candidates. You do not want to have that kind of experience as well, right? So we only present the quality candidates to the clients. And we kind of spoil the clients if you are sending too many candidates. We have to give the best and to explain each candidate with service, not just putting up the numbers.
Yeah.
And we have to explain to the candidates why they are not being selected, you see.
Right. okay.
Yes.
So there is communication back and forth now.
Yeah. How many typically do you have to give to your clients on the hiring employers? Each batch, how many do they usually ask for?
Like what Gavin said, probably 3 to 5, that's the max.
Okay.
We don't
Don't overwhelm them.
Yes. And of course, we give the best of the best because you never know. Sometimes when you give more than that, there are instances whereby the client say, hey, I got another role that's not open, but this candidate fits that role that is newly created, and you get another due, you see.
Right.
So give the best, be the best, and the client will appreciate the service.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm working with a recruiter and I know obviously that they don't just have me on the list of people that they're offering to a potential hirer, can I ask who these names are? Can I ask where I rank among this list of people? Would you be able to tell me?
Maybe not the names of the other candidates because it's PDPA,
Sure.
but in terms of their priority, where they stand amongst other candidates, I think I could be able to advise if I have full disclosure of the process. Because sometimes the hiring companies, they may use other recruitment firms. They have their own direct applicants through LinkedIn as well. They have direct referrals too. It's pretty hard to have the whole picture of how many candidates are there in the total, how my candidates are running against the others. But I'll try my best to give at least the candidates some clarity and heads up, but not to the extent of sharing the names of other candidates.
Right. And you also don't want to, give them false promises that like you're a shoo-in, like you're definitely going to get the job.
Of course, nothing is confirmed even if you had a job because you may not pass probation as well.
That's true. Okay.
Actually, for that type of question, I always find that is it even worth asking? Right? Because you what is the person supposed to tell you? That you're not ranked highly, you want to build a relationship with them as well, right? So I always find that when job seekers ask this question, personally, I will tell them that, you know what, don't put your eggs in one basket. Move on to the next one. Keep options open. Keep moving forward. That's the only way that you can be successful in your job search. Because they could tell you you're good now, right? But how much can you really believe that? Because why they ask this is, very often they want to know whether should they continue their job search.
They want reassurance.
Yes, they want a reassurance. They want to get the confidence. They also are deciding whether should I go for more interviews.
On the other hand, right, there's also, sometimes I ask a candidate, have you applied through many positions? Because we also want to project them and market them. And if let's say we cross the line getting them the offer, but they will say, hey, I actually have another offer that will surprise you. All your efforts go down to the drain. So it's really a two-way,
Some of the behaviors I've seen myself over the years, right, is if today you are really in the top, you are the prime candidate, right, the recruiter will be very on board with you. They will keep engaging you, keeping you warm. They want to make sure that you're aware that there's still a high chance. But if today the process is quiet, and then you have to be the one to ask it.
To reach out,
then you might have to think through, is this really... how much of the answer is really going to be helpful?
And how much is this, whatever the answer is, going to reassure me anyway? Because you kind of already have an inclination if they're not reaching out to you.
Exactly.
For those who are maybe watching or listening right now and they are encountering some of this bad behavior that we've been talking about a little bit, how can they respond to the recruiter? Like, for example, if they come out from a job interview that the recruiter led them to and they're just thinking, this was very obviously not in my lane, how can they work with that recruiter to do better? Or should they just drop the recruiter entirely?
You question the recruiter. Don't just let the recruiters interview you. Interview back the recruiters. Have you placed someone that's like me in the past few months? How well do you know about this company? How long have you been working with this company?
But then if you do that, would it seem like the candidate feel like I'm messing up my relationship with the recruiter?
Sometimes when we end the interviews, right, face to face or phone, we will ask, do you have any questions for me? Usually they will say no. But I will appreciate that, on the other side, ask me, how long, is it a replacement role? Is it newly created? How long have you been working with this client? And have you placed someone that's similar like me? What are the salary benchmarking? What are the markets in this? So many questions. And I will appreciate that.
So we've been talking about the questions that candidates should be asking of recruiters, right? But how about information that, perhaps should be offered up if a question wasn't asked of them? Like, should I be so upfront with a recruiter if I had previously been fired, or given warnings by HR, or maybe even
Medical condition, for example.
medical conditions.
I believe honesty is the best policy.
Okay.
And also transparency is actually quite key in communications. But there are some candidates where there are boundaries, where some are private and confidential information that they do not want to share, which is fine. However, when it comes to the final stages, there will be medical checks, there will be background checks. And if these issues come up at a later stage, then it will be really a red flag and will cause alarm to the hiring manager and the HR. And it is my lack of due diligence as well to inform the clients beforehand. So I think if a candidate has any issues like being fired or given warnings by HR or other similar type of issues, I think it's probably better to raise this up from the start.
But let's say if they have to raise it up to you, how would you then represent this information to the hiring employer? But I'm not saying you're ghosting them, but I'm saying that would recruiters generally just say that, oh, because you have all these conditions, this history, it sounds like it's difficult to place you, so I just give you a cursory response, which is I'll keep lookout for you. And then after that, I don't do anything about your CV. Then the person is left waiting for nothing. Do you see these things happening?
Some candidates are very smart, right? So they will just put up their profiles. They go through the interviews, and at a certain stage where they think they'll be selected for the role, then they will share all this information because they don't want these to cloud the judgment and assessment of their profiles.
Yeah.
So they still do their transparency check. They share this information, but at an appropriate stage where it doesn't affect their candidacy in the process. So at the point in time, I'll just have to go straight to the candidates to understand what's the situation, what's the scenarios, and explain it in the best capacity I can to the clients. And by the time the clients would have interviewed the candidates for a couple of rounds, and they will be able to make the assessment whether they want to proceed or not based on the information just shared. So it's kind of like a best of both worlds because the candidates do get through the interview processes, but then they do inform of their past records. The hiring managers and the HRs do interview the candidates too to give them a chance at a job. And they will decide if they still want to continue with the candidates after all.
For those who are looking for a recruiter to place them in a job right now, and if you two are not available, what are some green flags that they can look out for to know that that recruiter is going to be working in their best interest, is not just looking to fulfill KPIs, and will actually land them a job?
Look up to their LinkedIn profile and looking at what's their point of view and what have they, how many years of experience do they have, what kind of positions they have placed before, if they put up on their LinkedIn social media. So, and check around with other recruiters that,
I get this a lot from clients, right? The sad thing is a lot of them tell me that the recruiters don't respond. So they will go to LinkedIn, they will ask them questions, right? They don't get a response. And usually I will tell them that, look, recruiters are very busy. They have possibly hundreds of people reaching out to them and then asking them about a certain job. So I said, you have to learn to build a relationship with a recruiter, right?
How do you build a relationship if you can't even get your message in their inbox?
Exactly, right? So what do you all think?
It goes both ways for communication, right? So how to make your profile stand out? We need to look at your profile before we can even contact you. So slide into DMs, like what you mentioned. We do response, and if your profile really attracts what our clients want, right? Definitely I will give you a call and to market you to our clients.
Gavin, how about for yourself?
I think candidates should do a more targeted job search. So they apply for jobs that are relevant to their career or similar or kind of synergistic with what they've done before, so that their profiles will be more likely to get the interest of the recruiters or the HR personnel to pick up their profiles and call them for interviews. So I think for them, they should be more targeted when they apply for jobs. Only apply for those that they are really interested and keen on, plus they're relevant, so that the chances of being called up is actually much higher. And then you will get shortlisted for the roles and interviews. And even if you don't, you get a first initial interview or chat or screening by the recruiters. So they will probably put it on your radar for any future opportunities if you are a good profile for some other roles.
So maybe to cap us off, maybe a question for both of you, right? What's something that a candidate can do tomorrow if they're already working with a recruiter to make the most of that relationship and get the most out of that recruiter to ensure they're placed in their dream career or dream job?
do network with recruiters that is strong in the function that they are applying to. Finance professionals, and go for networking, and also beef up their personal branding. Whether is it offline or online. You can be good online, LinkedIn, but when it comes to offline, face-to-face, there are things that we can, identify there are gaps. Is it what you say you really are? Things like that. So do beef up that. Online and offline must be aligned. And network with the recruiters out there to get a lot of feedbacks, recommendation and feedback. So to position yourself better in the job market.
Gavin, do you have any advice?
I think it'd be good for candidates to be transparent in what they want and are looking for in the next step of their career. Share their priorities, concerns, aspirations, so that we know what kind of opportunities will pique their interest. And that could be a very mutually beneficial and fruitful partnership with the candidates if we know what they are looking for in the market. Yeah.
So far we've been talking about how recruiters should help candidates. I think candidates can help recruiters also.
Definitely.
Yeah. So one of the things that I often tell candidates to do is, if you have a recruiter that's talking to you already, learn about the recruiter, the specialties, and then see whether if they have other roles that maybe you are not interested in, but you can refer people to them. And then you become like a subcontractor recruiter, right?
The middleman of the middleman.
Yeah, the middleman of the middleman. And that helps because you're helping them with their role.
Yeah.
And then that helps to build a relationship because it's a give and take both sides, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Will I get commission if I do that? Maybe not lah. But thank you guys so much for coming on the Work It Couch.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, welcome back to the Work It Podcast. This is the Ask Work It segment of the show. If you have questions that you're dealing with in the workplace and you have no idea who to turn to, you might want to write to us and we may be able to help you out. Gerald, today we've got a question coming in from Jamie, who's been job hunting for the past few months. Now, recently a recruiter asked Jamie to agree to something called a right to represent, or RTR for short. From what Jamie understands, it gives the recruiter permission to submit his resume to a client, so someone who's hiring. The problem is this recruiter doesn't want to reveal who the company is until later in the hiring process. So Jamie isn't even sure what he's agreeing to. After doing some research online, everyone has access to Google nowadays, Jamie found claims that if he signs an RTR, then later applies for the same job through the recruiter or directly with the company, the employer's applicant tracking system, their ATS, might flag it as a duplicate application and possibly just remove him from consideration altogether. So Jamie wants to know, what exactly is this right to represent and how should job seekers handle such recruiters without accidentally hurting their chances of landing a role? Have you heard of this RTR before?
Not really.
Okay, same. Well, luckily for us, we're not going to be answering this question alone. We've actually retained our guests from the main episode, Gavin Teo from Michael Page, as well as Joshua Wu from Recruit Fast. Thank you for staying on for the Ask Work It segment. This is a first, having a guest answer letters from listeners. Have you guys heard of this RTR?
Not so common, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not so.
So it's not common practice,
No.
at least in your experience.
Yeah.
What's your take though? Should Jamie sign this RTR?
If it's a request from the hiring manager or the hiring company because they want to prevent duplicates, then I think it is probably appropriate and rightful that Jamie agrees to be represented by the recruiter, because they must have gone through discussions about the role, the opportunities for her to understand more about the company, and rightfully goes through the recruitment route. And this is only upon the request of the hiring company. However, if this is just the wishful thinking of the recruitment firm or the agency to want to tie Jamie to a single agreement, then I would advise not to.
Right.
Because if I were in Jamie's shoes, I would probably like to work with different recruiters on different type of opportunities. And if the company is available on LinkedIn or on the websites, I can also apply directly as well, right? So having the R2R, I would say it's only advisable if Jamie knows which company that is, what role that she's applying for, and if she's dealing with a more legitimate recruitment firm, and I think she can go for it.
So how can someone know if a firm or a recruiter that is offering an RTR is legit?
It could be something that is one-off. from some of the agency. I heard of it, but we have not practiced it. So it's how we actually respect the candidates and how the candidates actually respect others as well.
Yeah. Personally, when I hear of this situation, I do feel that the person shouldn't sign.
Yeah.
Right. Just so because you don't know what the company, the recruiter is going to send your resume to. So I think there's no consent there. Like, how can you sign this blindly? Having said that, I recently came across a contract as well, an offer from someone, and it kind of comes very, very closely to this R2R, right to represent, and even has other interesting clauses, such as, for example, we don't just represent you, you have to turn up for work. If you don't stay on a job for 3 months,
To pass probation.
yeah, if you don't stay on a job, if you leave on your own, you have to pay the recruiter a compensation.
I have to pay them for potentially not placing me in a job that
For
really fit me.
Because they have placed you in a job, so you are obligated to stay for 3 months. If someone who is desperate, have been unemployed for a long time, you can imagine, right? People would actually sign such things.
Wow, yeah, I can imagine. Do ATS applicant tracking systems not identify duplicate applicants and make sure that the hiring manager or the recruiter knows this?
They do. That's why we have this term called candidate ownership in
Okay.
the industry. So it's typically for 12 months. So for some of the companies, it's role specific, which means if Jamie applies for job A, she can still apply for job B, C, D subsequently through her own channels. Or if, let's say, she decides to go with the recruiter on RTR, then the recruiter has the right to represent Jamie for the next 12 months for whatever opportunities that's available in the company.
Okay.
So it's really depending on the HR policy and how they work with the recruitment partners. So I would say every company has their own different systems and tracking, ATS tracking systems. So, but ultimately, I think Jamie should still proactively work with the recruitment partners to know what exactly is happening in the organization. And also at the same time, keep a lookout on the websites, on LinkedIn. In case any job interests her, she should also make it known either to the recruiter or to the company directly.
In the case of potential duplicate applications, would recruiters be able to negotiate with the company to kind of say, hey, I know there's a duplication here, but I'm actually putting them forward because I want to bring this candidate to your attention?
Usually there would have been agreement with the client before even we started searching on the roles. So typically if such a case happens, right, we will flag out this profile. The hiring company and the HR will decide then if it goes through their own direct application channel or is it through the recruiter's channel. So it depends on the terms you've signed, the agreement, and also the HR policies in place. So we've got cases where, say, there's a very good candidate for this role that we still want to present for the role, and it turns out that the candidate is already in the ATS system for the client. So they will give us the heads up to say that this candidate has already applied directly, and they'll proceed directly with the candidate.
I see.
And so we will then close this off with the candidate to say that your profile will be contacted by the HR directly because you've applied directly to the role.
Oh, okay. So you don't even say hey, can I just take a cut since I'm also representing? Right.
No, yeah, because it's really all in the terms and conditions and
I
of the
see.
agreement. So it's very black and white in that sense.
I can add on that some of the clients, because they are long enough in the market, they may have the entire database. So I do questions like how long ago, and they probably will say, a few months ago, at which manager interview, probably someone that has left already. So I do that. Can I re-represent this person? Because probably slip off the mind, and it could be the ATS, but it was not updated. And this person has reskill and upskill already, and probably amass a few years of experience. If the client say okay, then we will do the process of interviewing and market this candidate to the client.
Right. So there really is instances where you tell the client hey, I know that you've spoken to this person before, but I promise they're brand new now.
Yeah,
New
partnership.
year, new them.
Yeah, because me and my client, we are partnership.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be just transaction. So how can I value add to the service? Well, I'm being your HR as well, your TA, and views I'm taking off your time to interview, to understand, to project things that might be blind spots to you.
Is there any downside to having your profile sent multiple times by different recruiters and maybe by your own application to certain jobs? Does that really limit your opportunities in any way?
if you send too many multiples application, right, it kind of, if I give an analogy, like someone selling their property, but you send so many, to property agents that to market your property. Think about, do they sell at a higher price or low price? The buyer might think there must be some problem with this property. So if I put that exponential energy to this recruitment and job seeking, right, it's the same. When you have so multiple applications, right, and the recruiters keep seeing your profile each time, are you job hopping? Why are you not stable in your current? Why are you still jobless for so long? And why are you applying not relevant to experience?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I have a thought about that, right? Maybe a different view. A bit different from selling houses, because I think recruiters also do have that you actually vouch for your candidates, right? So when you actually if many recruiters put your profile up, you are saying that many recruiters actually are vouching for this person. They may have find that this person is a good fit for the job. In your line of work, recruiters, you don't want to push a poor fit. Whatever recommendation you want to give, it has to be good. So therefore, whoever you put forward is definitely a recommended.
Stamp of approval.
Yes, correct. So imagine if you are a company, you're hiring for one position, and then you see 3 recruiters giving you the same candidate, right? What does it signal?
I see. But I can see where Joshua's coming from, because if, let's say, recruiter A is offering me at like X amount of salary, right? And then recruiter B is offering me at like X minus 1,000 of salary. The company that they are putting me forward as a potential hire for could just look at those 2 options and be like, actually, I'll take the cheaper option. So I can see it going both ways depending on the predisposition of the company that is working with this recruiter. But I see your point though. Having multiple people going out there looking for a job for you definitely would help your chances, right? The probability of you landing a role.
It's like you want to catch fish, right? You must have many lines.
Is there any advice that the two of you have for a job seeker who is working with multiple recruiters to ensure that they are not limiting their opportunities, not devaluing themselves in front of a hiring manager, but actually making the most out of the fact that multiple recruiters have given them a stamp of approval?
Candidates should definitely do themselves a favor by keeping track of the roles and the opportunities they've applied through respective recruitment agencies and the consultants. So they should be able to keep tab, remember when and where their CVs are going, for what roles, so that if they speak to multiple recruiters or headhunters, they will know if it's a duplicate application, and they should definitely inform the next recruiter that they already been represented to the company, or they already applied directly on LinkedIn themselves.
I see.
So
yeah,
because sometimes candidates apply too many roles, they spam their CV, so they can't really keep track. And also sometimes in the hasty decision that they want to get in front of the hiring team, right, they'll say yes to everyone, which is not helping them after all. So they should definitely be able to keep track of the applications and make sure they don't duplicate their applications and efforts.
I agree.
So going back to the discussion we had in the main episode, which is proactively communicate with your recruiters, make sure they're updating you on where your CV is going, and let them know as well if you are applying to other places. Would it be rude for me to just create a Google Sheet and put all 10 recruiters who are representing me, give them access and tell them you help me fill up so that I can keep track?
There's PDPA involved as well.
Okay, that's fair.
So it's a very good idea, but I don't think any recruitment firms will agree to that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jamie, if that helps, please let us know whether this clarifies any of the doubts that you've had with Right to Represent and working with recruiters. Otherwise, for the rest of you, if you have work dilemmas similar to Jamie's, maybe otherwise, write to us. We are at cnapodcast@mediacorp.com.sg.
I'm Gerald.
And I'm Nat. Remember, the right recruiter should be a partner in your job search, not another hurdle.